Strategy number 2, use self-talk as a trigger in the moment. Well, let's take a look at strategy number 3. And I want to go back real quickly and leave you with this quote on strategy number 2. Self-talk is by far the number one skill which activates everything else. Self-talk is the number one skill that activates everything else. When you're aware of what you're saying and thinking, you're aware of what you're doing and what you're not doing. And then you can redirect yourself. You can say, oh, wait a minute, do this instead. Nope, we're not going to do this over here. We're going to do this. This is what I'd like for you to do. So self-talk is a very important skill that activates everything else. Strategy 3, practice in no to low pressure situations. Practice in no to low pressure situations. So these are your very, very best opportunities to reinforce your new skills. Why? Because there's a lower cognitive load. There's less of a cognitive load. There's less, you're using less energy, less focus, right? On or in or with your mind, your brain. And what this means is that it's easier for you to practice new skills. So it's easier for you to build, to create, to build, to reinforce your new speaking style when the pressure is either none or very low. I hope that that makes sense. So this means more than likely when you're speaking with family or friends or even colleagues where you just don't feel any pressure. Generally, it's when you don't really have to think much about what you're saying. These are the perfect times for you to practice. So when you're calm, just remember, the calmer you are, the lower your cognitive load and the better you're likely and able to perform, right? You're able to remember more, you're able to perform better when you're calmer and there's a lower cognitive load. So casual conversations, chatting with family, small talk with colleagues, perfect practice time. Let me say that again. The perfect practice time is when you're having casual conversations, you're chatting with family, small talk with colleagues. Perfect practice time. Do not let yourself off the hook. So if you don't practice when you don't feel like you need to, then it's always going to be inconsistent. It'll go out the window, out the door whenever the pressure's on. So you have to practice when there's no to low pressure, when you don't feel like you need to, when you're accepted by whoever you're speaking with, when they don't care how you speak and you don't care how you speak with them. But that's the best time for you to practice. So remember, it's your perfect practice time. If you don't, then using your new speaking style, whatever that is, or slowing down will always be, unfortunately, inconsistent. It'll always be hard because you haven't wired it in. But you can wire it in by keeping in mind everything that I'm saying, and especially practicing in no to low pressure situations. All right. Strategy 4, use audio affirmations to rewire that default thinking. So I just got finished, literally just got finished recording over 20 minutes of affirmations specific to these strategies. So all you have to do is pop those in and listen to them on a daily basis, and it will begin to imprint, to affirm, to rewire your thinking so that you start remembering, you start wanting to, you start reminding yourself, right, to slow down, to take your time. There's no need to rush. So you want to listen daily when? While you're driving, while you're walking, while you're prepping, doing something else, while you're cleaning. I listen to a lot of audio before I go to sleep, sometimes when I'm waking up, sometimes while I'm sleeping. So take advantage of what we call transition time. When you're doing something that doesn't require your full attention, listen to audio. It builds the passive learning and makes smooth speech feel more normal. So when you're listening to these audios, it's passive. You're just soaking it in, but it makes your speech feel more normal because you're listening to something that's reinforcing why speaking slower is very important. Why speaking slower gives you more confidence. It makes you feel calmer. You're reinforcing that through what you're listening to. So listening to these affirmations helps you override the I forgot problem, right? Oh, I forgot to do it. Well, if you're feeding your mind constantly, you're less likely to forget because it will be at the top of mind, the top of your mind, because you've been listening to it, right? So affirmations help you remember naturally without forgetting it. So when you listen to affirmations, you just kind of naturally absorb it and you start thinking it and saying it to yourself, which is why we have to be very careful about who we talk to, what we say, what we watch, what we listen to, because it's passive learning. All right, let's look at strategy number 5. What is strategy number 5? It is to focus most of your attention on slowing down while speaking. Strategy 5 is to focus most of your attention on slowing down while you're speaking. So I'd say at least 60 to 80%. Some of you have heard me say this. Initially, you'll have to focus a lot of your attention, 60 to 80% at least, of your conscious attention should go to slowing down, especially in the beginning. 60 to 80%. Why? Well, because your natural tendency will be to do what's normal, right? Which is to think about what you're saying, or who's there, whatever, right? It's usually not to think about slowing down, which means you're going to have to consciously and intentionally keep shifting your focus to slowing down. And however you best slow down, it could be to remind yourself to slow down. It could be by reminding yourself to extend your words. It could be a variety of different triggers that help you slow down. Once you learn what they are, you keep pulling those triggers the entire time you're speaking. Now, here's the thing. Here's one of the barriers to shifting much of your attention to how you're speaking. One of the barriers is that people feel like they won't be able to say what they want to say, what they're intending to say, the content, the topic. The truth is, that's not really true. You still have enough cognitive capacity to periodically remind yourself to slow down and say what you want to say. I've watched probably thousands of people do it. And I can do it right now while I'm speaking. I can remind myself to do something else, right? To use my hands more, to use my hands less, to slow my speech down. And one of the times when you can do this is what we call cognitive breathing spaces, when you pause. You give your brain time to breathe, if you will, time to kind of relax. So right in the pause, like right then when I just pause, I can remind myself of something. So every time I pause and take a breath, I can remind myself of something. Much of what I do now is natural, so I don't have to. I can focus all my attention fully on delivering the message that I want to deliver to you and have the impact that I want to have. However, you can still deliver your message, your content. You can think, right? You can analyze, but in between, you can remind yourself to slow down. And you must, because if you don't, it won't become a habit, which is why it's important to do it when you have less of a cognitive load, right? Where it's a casual conversation. Then you practice it, you build the wiring. So when you do have to think a bit more about the content, it's already a habit for you to slow down. It's much easier for you to slow down in those moments. Does this make sense? Okay. So it's all about creating the habit, and you want to create it by using those no to low pressure speaking situations. Use them up. But you still need to do this in higher pressure speaking situations so that you can be clear and you can be calm and you can be confident, right? And you can think and you can breathe and you can feel like you're in control, even in high pressure speaking situations. And you can do it. You can do it. So strategy number 5 is that you will need to shift 60 to 80% of your attention on slowing down while you are speaking until it becomes a habit. So if you don't remind yourself throughout the entire conversation, your brain will immediately revert to your fast automatic patterns. And this is exactly what happens. Someone says in the beginning of a conversation, I started slow, and then a minute later or seconds later, someone asks me a question, or I'm thinking about an idea, something that I want to say, and my attention goes there, and then I just start speaking fast again. It's completely normal. How do we counteract that? The whole time we're speaking, For example, you pause, slow down. Okay? And now I'm speaking slower. And I just pause, slow down. Okay, I'm speaking, and then maybe I feel myself speaking a little faster. Okay, slow down. So just the habit of reminding yourself to slow down is important. So the self-talk, the habit of self-talk, the habit of reminding yourself to slow down, all those things help you to slow down and to create the habit of speaking slower, not dragging your speech. Our goal is really dynamic speech, but for many, many people, they just need to slow everything down at first. Okay, let's look at strategy number 6, and that is to choose one or two tools and use them consistently. Don't try to overload or overwhelm yourself by trying to do 5 or 6 or 7 different things. Pick one or two, focus on that every time you speak. So for example, you could say, I just want to focus on breathing and extending, or pausing and self-talk, right? And what you do is every time you speak, that's what you focus. You figure out, what's the trigger that helps me breathe and extend? What's the trigger that helps me pause more, right? Is it just to tell myself to pause? Is it some kind of body language? By using my hands, that might help me. By remembering to breathe, by thinking about my model, by thinking about the affirmations, right? Each of us may have a set of different triggers, but the key is you want to choose one or two tools from our proactive speaking skills, and you want to keep reminding yourself to do those things consistently throughout an entire conversation, throughout an entire day, right? Throughout an entire week. Use them consistently, right? So simple equals success. If it's simple enough, it's one or two things, you'll be more successful. So pick one or two that actually help you slow down and use them every time you speak. Pick one or two skills, one or two habits to help you slow down and use them every time you speak. Remember, every time you open your mouth is what? Practice time. Every time you open your mouth to speak, oh great, it's practice time. It's time for me to practice. Okay, let's look at strategy 7. Strategy 7 is to trust that slowing down helps you think and speak more clearly. You have to believe, you have to trust, this is strategy 7, that slowing down actually helps you think and speak more clearly. If you have false beliefs that slowing down makes you sound not as intelligent, people will not wait for you, it will sound weird, it's not you, it doesn't feel good, right? So it might not feel good at first, but trust me, when you slow down and you start speaking dynamically, it will feel better. You'll have more control. You'll feel calmer. People will appreciate you. People will listen to you. You will be projecting greater confidence. You will be more persuasive. You'll be more influential. The benefits are almost endless. So you have to believe, you have to trust that slowing down will help you think and speak more clearly, help you think and speak more clearly. So many people fear that they will sound robotic or lose their train of thinking. And when some people initially try to slow down, they do drag their speech out, they don't inflect. This is where the coaching comes in. We can say, hey, that sounds robotic. That sounds weird. Do this instead, right? So some of you will need that support to help you get to the next level. Don't try to do this on your own. You want to think of this process where when you need support, invest your time and some of your money into yourself, because you're going to get the return back. You're going to get the return back in your next job, in your next promotion, in that next sale. It's worth whatever you're paying, as long as it's an effective program and system and coach. So slowing down gives your brain more time to think. Your speech becomes more precise, not less. When you slow down, you have more time to think. Your speech becomes more precise. So remember this, we say this in the military. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. When you're driving fast, you have less reaction time, right? It doesn't mean you can't, it's just you have less reaction time. Someone pulls out, you're driving too fast, there's nothing that you can really do about it. If you're driving slow enough and someone pulls out, you have time to do something. Well, it's virtually the same when you and I speak. We're speaking dynamically, but kind of at somewhat of a slower pace. Your brain just has more time to go out there and grab the information that you need, and for you to be often more concise and more precise in your wording. When people speak faster, they tend to use a lot of filler words, repeat themselves, not use the best words, the most concise, the most precise words to articulate their thoughts. So therefore, it actually takes them longer to articulate their ideas, to say what they want to say. It takes them longer. So when you slow your speech down, you can be more precise. There's greater precision. You can be more concise. You will save time. You'll be more efficient and effective when you speak, when you slow down. Okay. So slowing down doesn't make you sound worse. It makes you sound smarter, clearer, and more confident. Trust me when I say this. Trust me, trust me, trust me. You don't have to trust me, but I've had enough experience to know that unless you're dragging your speech and speaking super duper slow with no inflection, then of course people are not going to want to listen to you, and so forth and so on. But that's not what we're teaching, right? But slowing down can help you not sound worse, but sound smarter, clearer, and more effective. So whether you're at home or work or with friends or on a call, every single moment is an opportunity for you to practice and for you to reinforce your new speaking style. So every conversation is practice, especially when you feel relaxed. So don't just try to wait for those high pressure speaking situations and then try to apply the tools, because guess what? Most of the time it's going to go out the window. It's not going to work. Train your brain now in no to low pressure speaking situations so that you can begin to implement them more when the pressure is on, when it counts, when the stakes are higher. Thank you so much for watching this video or these series of videos, because I may cut this up into smaller chunks, but thank you so much. Hope this has been helpful. Be sure to check us out and to subscribe to us on YouTube as well as my Spotify channel. For those of you who are looking for support, you need to accelerate your progress. You're going to want to book a conversation with me so that I can help you get to that next level, whatever it is, faster than you would working on your own. Sometimes I've seen where it saved the person. They've gotten to their goal 10 times faster. Working on their own, people will ignore stuff. They'll do the easy things. They'll be inconsistent, right? All of us have blind spots. There's stuff that we don't know that we don't know. There's stuff that we don't see that we can't see. You need someone with experience who understands what you've gone through. I stuttered for 20 some years. The recording of this video, I'm 58 years old. So I stuttered good portion of my life. Completely understand it from the inside out, from the outside in. So I can help you because I've been where you are. More importantly, I've helped other people who are where you are get to different levels in their life that they maybe never thought that they would or that they could. Okay. Lots of recent examples of people getting better jobs, VP positions, earning $60-some thousand more, getting this job and that job. Even if it's not about money for you, it might just be about being more peaceful, feeling more confident, increasing and improving your self-esteem. We can help you do that as well. When you're able to say what you want to say, you just feel better about yourself. I can tell you how I felt. I felt free, I like to describe it like a big, wet, heavy, black blanket was lifted off of me. I literally felt that almost in a moment. I took a breath. Wow, man, I can now do whatever I want to do. Speech is not perfect, but it's gotten to a place. I've kind of turned the corner on this now. It's gotten to a place where I feel free to be who I want to be, do what I want to do, to say what I want to say, right? I felt that, and I can tell you many, many, many thousands of my clients and students have felt the same way. And I want you to experience that same sense of freedom. You got to put in the time, you got to put in the work, but you can experience it too. Thank you so much. My name is Michael Williams. We'll see you soon.